Hi guys, welcome to the show. My name is Seb Ostrovich, aka the voice of the people, and this is the Weightlifting House podcast. Hello and welcome back to today's episode of the Morning Brew. In fact, this week's episode, it is now a weekly show, with your host, Seb Ostrovich, the voice of the people, joined by the people scientist, Joshua Gibson.
The People's Gun Show?
Put your arm down. How many times am I going to have to say that before you learn I don't like it when you flex your bicep on camera? So we have filmed this episode, something that we've been wanting to do for a while. I've been really wanting to do it for a while and just never got around to working out how to do it. Josh has got some technical skills that I don't have. So we decided to give it a go, which is what we're doing now. Josh, it's good to see your face on the podcast.
Yeah, this is actually kind of weird because we've recorded so many shows where it's just audio. I almost forget what you look like.
It's a little bit intimate.
I'm kind of inspired right now. No, I think this is going to be a great show. We have some good questions, some good topics. And as always, we have our morning brew. So
I'm representing FedEx today, as you can see by my mug. And I'm drinking tea, not coffee. So
the delivery service of the people.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Now, you might be able to hear some noise. Can you hear noise coming in?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's like construction going on back there somewhere, so I apologize for that. They don't know that I'm in here, I don't think, so they normally keep it down, but not today.
Yeah.
Well, we did used to film podcasts. The first ones we ever did for the Philosophical Weightlifting podcast, you would film them.
Yeah, I did.
So the first time we ever recorded a podcast, like, I didn't really know what to expect. We just turned on and I could see you just like this. It was like, oh, shit. Hey.
Yeah, it's very intimate. Actually, I usually tell people that I record podcasts with that I enjoy the face-to-face interaction.
Yeah.
For some reason, it's easier to time what people are saying, which I like.
It's way better.
And
way easier.
I mean, it's just more conversational. It's a little more fun. And I think you guys being able to see both of our beautiful faces. Well, if you're watching, if you're just listening, then you just get our sultry voices. So,
can you see? I've got my British weightlifting.
I do see that.
Hoodie on.
That's a very nice top. I like that.
Okay. And but this way we can also get sponsorship.
Exactly.
We can be like, hey guys, we're going to do these videos. Send us some Caffeine and Kilos t-shirts.
That would be awesome.
Or really, I should just get Weightlifting House t-shirts and send you some. And then just make that a rule, like you have to wear one of these if you're recording a podcast.
You know what? More people want the maroon Weightlifting House t-shirt. My buddy was like, I really want one. I don't want to pay the shipping cost. But it's so cheap already that there's
there is no shipping cost. Free shipping.
Oh, it's free shipping.
Dude, it's like $9.99 free shipping. Do you know how good that... Do you know why I'm doing that?
No.
It's because I'm trying to get rid of them.
Okay. Well, I'll buy a few.
Well, I just took them off literally about an hour ago. I took them off the website. Well, so no, I spoke to Daryl Barnes because he's really good with designing, isn't he? Like he said, he'd done some of the USA singlets. So I spoke to him. And I was like, look, here's what I need. This is what I want. This is like my vision of the first stage of the new Weightlifting House store. Do you want to get involved? And he said yes. So we're going to have a chat and try and get a. I mean, we're going to keep it simple. Like to start with, I just want to have a Weightlifting House t-shirt in various different colors. You know how like Caffeine and Kilos, they've got the logo on, you get various colors. That's what I'm going to go for to start with. Then bring out a few, keep and then promote a few more of the Pizarenko, the Naeem kind of t-shirts, the classic weightlifters range. And then, dude, I've done some research. Like we're going to do straps, knee sleeves, thumb tape. You know the Lifting Genie thumb tape?
Yeah.
I found their source.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that tape is trash. So.
Is it?
It's not good. It's okay. So it's like you get the average Bros tape, and then you compare that to the Lift Genie, and it just shits on the Lift Genie. So it's not that it's not great. It's just that average Bros is that much better.
Right. Well, maybe I need to find Average Bros' one.
That's going to be tough.
But like, I think I can find it, and then get Weightlifting House logo printed on it. That would be really cool. And then you buy rolls of it. And then instead of selling it for like goddamn $10 a roll, I'll sell like 5 packs for $10 or something, and actually give the people some good thumb tape that doesn't cost crazy amount. I also found, do you guys have No Bull in America?
Yeah, we do.
You know No Bull?
Yeah.
Dude, I found where they get everything made.
Really?
And how much it costs.
Yeah.
It's absurd. So the standard No Bull, just like trainers or sneakers, whatever you call them, they retail for about $130. Dude, they get them made for between $15 and $30 a pair. I found the exact shoe. Yeah. The exact shoe and where it's being made in China. The exact shoe. I know the factory. I could order one right now, but it wouldn't say No Bull.
Yeah.
It just wouldn't say no. I could get that exact shoe and get a Weightlifting House logo on it.
Wow. Jeez.
But the issue is it's like 1,000 pair minimum order quantity. So you got to invest like 30 grand to get the 1,000 pairs. But then that's it. It's crazy. It's crazy that you can get all of this stuff made. It's mad. Like, I think before I started anything like this, I always thought that the people who sold stuff also manufactured it themselves. They just don't. Like, it's manufactured elsewhere, and then it gets sent to them, and then they just market it and sell it.
Yeah.
It's crazy, dude.
So it really is about making a brand. It's just about creating a product that people want to represent.
Absolutely. And hopefully Weightlifting House is that.
Yeah.
Or at least it's becoming that. It's a brand that people will want to represent. It like hopefully it will begin to symbolize also we need Weightlifting House mugs. Can you imagine right now if I was drinking it? We need it, like, I think it symbolizes it's just the news, isn't it? It's the news of weightlifting. That's what it is. It's like where you go if you want to learn about weightlifting.
Yeah. I think it goes beyond. So, like, when I talk to really high-level athletes, I ask them about weightlifting. Like, who's your favorite weightlifter? They always say that they don't watch it. Like, most of the high-level weightlifters. Yeah. I think what Weightlifting House is it's the source of all things weightlifting for the weightlifting fan, not just the high-level athlete that competes.
No.
It's someone that wants to be immersed in the culture, someone that wants to be immersed in the sport. And it gives them an avenue to fill their life with all things weightlifting, which is great. But I feel like what happened to the Weightlifting House is the shirt that became the representative of the brand was the YB Normal t-shirt. So you almost need to like change that, get a logo, get something nice that says Weightlifting House on the front, make that like the star of the show.
Yeah, try and sell a bunch of those.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they market themselves.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not even that bothered about trying to make loads of money on t-shirts. I just want people wearing the t-shirts because then they wear them, they go to the gym, and everyone sees it.
Yeah.
That's how I see things like t-shirts. They're just branding, basically.
Yeah, and I just told you, my buddy saw, I think Trina was wearing the maroon t-shirt, and he's like, I want that shirt. Like, that looks awesome. Comfortable, smooth, great logo, great lettering. Yeah. So what are you going to do with those t-shirts?
So I've only got because those t-shirts I had before I started using this external printing system. So the printing system now means that I don't have to touch anything. Like, the order goes through, they print it, they package it, they ship it, which is really great. Mine now is just, those ones are from when I would order them. I got them in my house. So I've got like a box of, I probably only got about 15 left, and they're all small or extra large or extra large. So like, I don't know, man. I would just give them out, to be honest. I'll happily give them. If people pay for shipping, I'll just send them.
Yeah.
So like, I might even do that. I might do this. I might say, first, however many people get a free t-shirt, whoever do something. Like, I'm just sending them. I just don't care. You had an idea then. I could tell. You went like, you inhaled and your head moved.
So I was laying in bed one night and I was thinking to myself, CJ Cummings always does like a clean plus 8 front squat complex.
Oh.
And I thought an awesome.
He did it at 180 the other day.
It's unbelievable. I think he did clean plus 8. But what would be awesome is to do something like the Tarakti complex, where you have people submit an entry into Instagram, and they try to clean and then get as many front squats as possible with the highest percent of their max. I was thinking you'd have to put a jerk at the end because that's the real challenge. So like
how many front squats do you dare to do before you attempt the jerk?
Exactly. And the person that can get as close to their 1 rep max, it'd be tough to calculate, but as close to their 1 rep max, and then as many front squats gets something for free.
We'd have to base it on honesty. Like we'll say we'll go 80% of your clean and jerk for a 1 + X + 1.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And then submit as X.
Yeah, I think that actually be really cool because people like to max out. They like to go heavy, and it's something everyone can do. You just have to be able to clean and jerk.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah.
So hashtag
sure.
Weightlifting House.
Yeah, that could be fun. That'd be a lot of fun. The issue is if someone wins it and they're a medium, and I don't have any medium t-shirts, so I just look around until I find like a super heavyweight. He's just really inefficient, and I'm like, here you go. Triple XL. Congratulations, buddy. Should we do some questions? Should we do some morning brew?
Yeah, I guess we should get on with the show.
Yeah, I don't know how long we've been recording, but we've been recording for 53 minutes, but we only hit record 10 minutes ago.
Yeah,
or however long it was, which is crazy. But I like the setup, man.
It's actually I'm pretty jealous.
Oh, I can't even see myself. I can only see you. Oh, there I am. I'm very small in the corner of the room. No, as in I like the whole video setup. I feel like it's really easy to talk to you.
Cool.
It's a lot easier.
Yeah,
it's a lot easier. We've got to sort out that room behind you, though. Got to make that bed.
Exactly. Yeah, my girlfriend was like, "Oh, should we make the bed?" I'm like, "No, fuck it. It's just the podcast."
Why don't you listen to Trina?
Sometimes when people are right, you just can't go along with it.
You tell them
you have to rebel. Yeah.
Fair enough. Well, next time, if we put this up on the main one, we've got to change that.
Yeah.
All right, so let's get into it. What's the first question at?
Okay, so as always, Michael Horner with all of the questions.
Wait, one second.
Do you have them pulled up?
Can we edit this so that when the question comes up, it comes up along the bottom?
Yeah.
No, so people can see the question.
I can even
at least for when we put this up on the main one, we should do that.
Just for the Morning Brew, when you submit a question, I will scroll through your Facebook, I'll find a picture of you, and I'll put it next to the question. I'll put quotations around the question, just like you're asking.
That might stop people from submitting questions, because they know that they're going to get stalked by the people scientists. That might be too much.
I will just do it for Michael.
Okay, that works. All right, so the first question, do you want me to get it up?
Yeah, you read the questions off, and then...
You don't like reading questions, do you? You really hate it.
It's not my cup of tea.
It's like you're scared that you're going to forget how to suddenly read, and people are going to think you're dumb.
Well, it's happened so many times before.
But you are kind of dumb. Okay, I'm going to exit some of these tabs. All right, here we go. So, from Michael Horner, a.k.a. the people's biggest fan. I love Michael. Michael's a legend.
Yeah.
So, to start off with, okay, it's kind of all one question. So, what are the benefits of powers? When and when not should I utilize powers? What is the long-term use of powers exclusively? The timing difference and how to find full lift's rhythm. We can stop there and then do the rest of it later. So basically, what are the benefits of powers, and when should we and when should we not utilize them? And what will be the long-term effect if we exclusively use powers? So I think when we're talking about the benefits of powers and specifically when to utilize and when not to utilize, I think we have to break that down into two camps of, for an athlete who is already a good mover, when to use them and when not to use them, and for an athlete who doesn't move particularly well, when to use them and when not to use them. So, I mean, today, before I came here, I had 2 PT sessions where I was just coaching a couple of women with just some weightlifting. They're just beginners learning out. And, I let them know that we're not really going to do powers for just drop it. It's not even in your vocabulary. We're not doing a power for at least a year. I just don't see the point. At least with the way they are now. Things might change, but they already have a proclivity to not want to go under the bar. So the last thing I want to do when they're so impressionable is to get them used to pulling the bar higher than it needs to be. To the extent where now I get a PVC, I hold it like this, and it goes along across, and it just goes above their shoulders. And I just basically say, the bar can't touch this. And then they do a rep, and they do like a set of 5 because they're beginners and it's light. And I lower it an inch, they go, bar can't touch it. And I just see how low can I get the PVC so that they can pull under and still make the lift. So for a lot of beginners, I say no powers. And then before I get onto the nitty gritty of when you should and what they're useful for, what are your thoughts on powers, at least for beginners? Let's just cover that topic to start with. Powers for beginners.
Yeah, it's really person dependent. I know the first day I started out weightlifting, I could snatch 62 kilos into a full overhead squat.
Yeah.
Phenomenal mobility. I probably would have benefited from doing more powers. And looking back on that, I wish I would have done more, and I wish I would still do more because I don't do any at all.
But you think that if you'd done powers in your first 6 months, that you'd be better lifter now?
Yeah, because I became so reliant on dropping into the bottom that I never had to pull higher. Yeah. I never really had to peak my elbows. So it's actually like, and I'm not sure if this is where it came from, but I feel like my mobility towards the top of the pole is slightly limited, just because I never get there. I can see when it's kind of same with me. It's the same with a lot of people. I think they just don't even notice it, that there is mechanical obstruction at the top of the pole. Yeah.
A lack of internal rotation of the arm without protraction of the shoulder is something that people really struggle to do. Yeah. Elbows start going back too soon. Start pulling a bit of a Michael Horner. Sorry, Michael.
Yeah. But I've noticed that it has been getting better with like muscle snatches and tall snatches, just really focusing on peaking the elbows right around the level of the shoulder. So in that case, maybe powers would have been beneficial. For most people, like you said, I would say that they have no utility, at least to start. You can probably get the same benefit of a longer pull by doing a pull plus a snatch. But then you get the work in the bottom, because I've had a few athletes compete, and when the nerves get to them, the first thing they do is power it. And you really don't want that. You want the first, the initial instinct, when someone is nervous and they forget how to lift, to be to drop too low too quickly than to catch it too high.
Right.
Because you're more likely to miss it trying to power it, especially a heavy weight, than you will be just dropping into the bottom of a full squat. So there are a lot of benefits. When to use them? Probably with more intermediate to advanced trainees. Likely with people.
Can I jump in quickly and say, you were saying that you think your training would have been better if you'd have done more powers early on.
Yeah.
Do you think that was also not just a fault of not doing powers, but potentially more a fault of doing pulls incorrectly? And that if you'd have continued to do your snatches as normal, but you did high pulls and you did them properly, then maybe you wouldn't have got that. But because your high pulls were probably either elbows back immediately or they were panda pulls or something, that you actually never developed that tall full pull.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I think one of the issues that I've noticed is when I started, I never knew how to correctly perform really any movement. So I would just kind of cycle through what I thought was the correct variation of it or variant of it. So for a pull, maybe one day I would just shrug. Maybe another day I would pull high. Maybe another day I would do a panda pull. Maybe another day I'd let the bar bump out and keep my arms rigid. I never knew what the fuck I was doing, to be very frank. So I did everything, which was the worst way to go about it. If I would have just stuck with doing high pulls, I'd at least be really fucking good at high pulls and not just like kind of okay at everything else. Because it's not just doing the pull correctly; it's the timing, it's the finish. It's understanding how to correctly do the movement and make it fluid. There's a lot that goes into it. So on your point, I think I would have benefited from doing pulls, doing them one way, doing them consistently, and doing them well.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think that when I started out, I just did panda pulls. I couldn't seem to work out how to do a high pull. I just couldn't do it. It just didn't make sense to me, so I'd always pull myself down. And even with that, I started thinking about it. I was like, this isn't actually how you time the pull. Like, when people do panda pulls, they strike the bar, and then when the bar reaches max height and zero velocity, they then violently row themselves down. But that's not what you do. You don't wait until that moment before you start pulling with the arms. The arms start pulling the moment the bar leaves the hips, essentially. And so I actually find that panda pulls don't particularly improve timing.
Yeah.
And I think another thing with pulls is that the question, because I said this to Michael Horney yesterday on his form check, and I've said it to a couple of the good CrossFitters who do some weightlifting at the gym, and they do high pulls, and they start yanking it back, and the acceleration deceleration isn't smooth. It's not nice. And I said to them, just stay up above the bar and continue pulling your elbows high. And they'll say, but I don't pull it as high like that. And it's like, but so that's not the question. Isn't how high can you pull it? It's how high can you pull it in the right path. And so it doesn't matter that you're pulling it higher this other way. That's a bad bar path, and you're not going to catch it. Like, that's not how you do a normal clean or snatch. So you've got to do it right and then see how high you can pull it, rather than how high can I pull it and see what movement comes out of that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, actually, I just started working with someone. She's an athlete. She's really strong, really quick.
Good.
But every pull she does, she gets into like this archangel position, and she has no influence from John North. This is just what I see.
Interesting. Yeah.
But she gets in an extreme like layback position and just swings the bar in this arc, and then at the top like pulls it towards her neck. And I'm like, and maybe at one point I would have said, hey, do it like that, like keep going. Now it's like, hey, focus on your quads, keep your hips like pretty static at the top, like don't think about the hips, everything just straight and smooth. And we're working on that. It's just finding variations that force you to do that. So we'll like do a pause at the top of the pull, and you'll have to hold it for a couple seconds. So it's like checks your balance, checks the proximity of the bar to the body.
Right.
But that is very common. And I think when people think about pulls, instead of, actually thinking of what am I trying to get out of it, instead of I'm just trying to pull this as high as possible, they just kind of hump and jump, so to speak.
Yeah.
But with the panda pull thing, Greg Everett has a really good video if you guys want to go check it out on his YouTube channel at Catalyst Athletics.
Oh, wait. Can we do that thing where you go, I've never done this before, I've always wanted to. If you want to watch that video, click right here. And then you've got to put a little thing there. Can you do that?
I can maybe do that. I'm not sure. I can probably do that. What I can also try to do is download the video, clip part of it, and put it in the top corner and have it playing while we're talking about
That's what this is for. This is, this is a green screen. Like this is the guys who do all like, I know it's technically not a green screen, but it works really well. They brought it in so that I could do the news show and have the videos happening around me. Like, whoa, I'm in the video, but I haven't gotten around to it. But we could do that and have it like have a nice lift there, or we could even cut out your head and put it there, so it looks like we're next to each other. We could even try and do all our podcasts like this.
Yes.
And then splice it and pretend that we're talking to each other.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
Yeah.
And just for everyone listening, I had to beg and plead to get Seb to record this over video.
Is that a joke?
So I could put it up.
What?
No, he was chasing perfection. I said,
no, I was.
Let's just do it. Let's just get it up. Let's see what happens. I'll make it pretty. And then
that's what
he was fighting. He was fighting me the entire way.
Well, no. So I was very happy to record this as it was. In fact, I believe, if you remember correctly, it was my suggestion that we record this episode on this video recorder that we're using. Actually, but all I was saying is, if we do it for the proper podcast, like the main one that goes out to everyone, it would be, right now this will work fine. It's actually a lot better than I thought. But we should invest in a camera. Or I should. You've got one. Mm-hmm. I need to invest in a good camera that I can stick right there that films me. And then we've got to make sure that when we have a guest on, they've got their camera ready, whether it's a webcam or whatever. Like make sure that it's working. Yeah. Which will be weird because it means that when we record our podcasts, we'll have two cameras filming us.
That will be
because
weird.
You'll have the one in the webcam so that we can actually look at each other while we're recording, and then the actual one just above it. It's kind of strange.
Yeah.
We'll work it out. I'm looking forward to putting this one up as a tester.
And I'll go out of my way to make this the best damn podcast video I've ever done.
I'll put it like this, Josh.
What's up?
You've got yourself an opportunity. You got yourself an opportunity to prove that you can add more value to Weightlifting House than we currently realize. Because you're already wait, I've got your title down. Science correspondent. Yeah, science correspondent, Joshua Gibson. I love that. You're a pretty reasonable co-host. Not so great at the intros, but maybe you can do a little bit of footage editing. That would be cool.
Yeah.
I've also got another plan, which I'll put it out on here because everyone listening is probably, well, whatever. I'm going to put it out on here. So one of the things that I really want to do at some point, and this is more just because I'm fortunate enough to live a life where I can probably get away with this, is what I want to do is travel the USA for like a month, 2 months, 3 months. I don't even know. And the plan would be we contact everyone. So I message MASH, I message all of these guys and basically say, look, we want to come out and train with you guys and get loads of content for you, record a podcast with you, the coach, the athletes, get some footage of training. And basically we do a full, 2-month vlog series with podcasts, videoed. And the idea would be you'd come along and you've already got a great camera, so you can film basically, and we'll set up the camera, we'll do training sessions at Mash Elite, and we'll do training sessions at Texas Barbell, all of these places. And then afterwards we can go talk to the coach, set the camera up, record episodes like podcasts. And then when we go wherever we stay in the evening, we sit down and we get editing. And we edit the footage, we get it up, and we get it out there. And then people can follow along with this 2-month, trek throughout the greatest gyms in America.
Yeah.
I think it could be that'd be amazing.
Yeah, I'm getting goosebumps right now.
I don't think you are. I don't think that was sincere.
I feel really good, and I kind of wish I would have goosebumps right now. But I was talking to Michael Horner about this, and I think I'm going to drive over to his place in Indiana. And Will Fleming has a gym an hour and a half from him. So we're going to drive down to Will Fleming's gym. And that's a great idea. I was going to record a podcast with him. But I think it'd be even better now to get training footage and all of that stuff. I think that's a phenomenal idea.
Talk to him and say, if we were to do this again in a year's time, could we come and stay for 3-4 days? Yeah. Because we get a car or a van and we just road trip.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I'm going to write this down. I'm getting so jacked up. I might not look it. I'm a very chilled looking person. I never look that jacked up, but I am inside. We go to MASH. We go to Cal Strength. We go to Texas Barbell. We go to Thrush.
Oh, Max Ada's gym.
Yeah, Max.
Go see John North.
Yeah, we could go see John North, but he doesn't have his own gym.
Yeah, but if we're already in Oregon,
that would be fun. And doesn't Donnie live nearby?
Donnie lives in San Jose, California, which should be pretty close to Cal Strength, I'd imagine.
Yeah. Where does where does Sean Waxman's gym?
Yeah, I think he's in LA or somewhere close to that. So it's all in the same general radius. So
I think we should I could even fly to you in Ohio.
Yeah.
Drive down to Mash Elite.
Well, and on our way to Mash Elite, we could hit Girth Brooks. We can go train with Girth because he lives in Kentucky, which is just south of where I'm at.
Let's do it. Why not?
And you know what? The gym that I went to the seminar at, they bring in Vladimir every so often. We could just go train there, see if Ehab's in town or Rastami or whoever's going to be there.
And Polovnikov is New York?
He's in New York, yeah.
Yeah, man. Maybe we start... I'm trying to figure out where it is. As you're looking at me, is this on the right-hand side of your screen?
That's on the left-hand side of the screen.
That's on the left-hand side of your screen. Oh, God. So we'll start here in Ohio.
Yeah.
And we'll go over to New York. Am I doing it right?
Yeah.
Down a little bit. Come back into Kentucky and then South Carolina.
Yeah.
And then fly over here and work our way up and end with John North at the top.
Yeah, yeah, let's do it.
And then if Bodie's out of jail, we go up top and train him. Do you know that he's going to jail? Did you see that?
I saw, was it like a 90-day?
Yeah, man.
Thing?
I wrote an article on it. Obviously, it's not, people can't see the article, but I've got, like, we've been working on filling up the website so that at least it's there and everything. So I'm getting articles for this sort of stuff.
And what's cool is while we're on the East Coast, we can just treat my place as home base. So if we need to go to Indiana, we can come back to Ohio and like recharge, go south, come back, recharge. Yeah, that'd be epic, man.
Where does Zach live?
Tellender?
Yeah.
Texas.
Oh, he lives in Texas. Cool. Well, that's where Ferg lives as well, who I lived with for a year, one of my best friends. So we could go there as well. He lives actually pretty close to Texas Barber, I think.
Oh, does he?
Yeah. So we could use that, go see the gang. That's where Ursula trains, right? Or coaches.
So she trains there, and then we could also go see Jilly Jaworski at it's like Texas Strength Systems. They have a really nice facility, really big facility.
So where does Sarah train?
Sarah Robles, she trains in Tim Sword's garage in Houston.
Yeah, so we need to get Tim Sword's as well. Also, I'm so sorry about that sound. Can you hear it?
Yeah.
That's a straight automatic or like drill. Yeah.
This reminds me
of
a
hole in the wall.
Old MDUSA videos where you can hear the drills going in the background.
Yeah, the manufacturing, like the high pitch. I always thought it was a bird just dying or something. It's crazy.
Well, I guess we should answer the question or get back to the questions.
Well, you say that, but anyway, can I just say before we do?
Yeah.
If I was to seriously organize that, would you come? And would you be able to?
I'd record everything.
You would? Okay.
Yeah.
Because it would have to mean one of us would be particularly on the camera, and it would just kind of have to be you.
So,
I would want you to be it, like set it up, and then we're both training, and hold it and film us, and like put it on the dashboard while we're driving. But a lot of it would just be like us, walking around, grabbing breakfast. We're gonna have so much fun.
We'll get it figured out.
We'll go stay with Travis because Travis has said we can stay with him. Like we'll go stay with Travis for a while. Get episodes of Travis and Nathan and Hunter and Simone and those young kids who are tearing it up.
Would we do individual interviews with all of them?
Yeah, we'll do it in groups. We'll do it in pairs. We'll do it singles. We'll get everyone at once. We'll get as much stuff as we can because it'll be good for them as well. Like they'll get so much exposure from it.
And James Tatum lives really close to Travis.
I don't know if I can do that because that's House of Weightlifting.
How do you feel about that?
Too similar to weightlifting. I was joking. It's fine. It's fine.
Yeah. Oh, it's fine. Okay.
Of course, it's fine.
Yeah.
He's got a gym.
Yeah. True.
I mean, I remember when it first came out, and I was like, oh, okay, cool. Because it was about 2 weeks after he came on the podcast. I was like, all right, yeah, fair enough. And did you see when he made his logo? I had so many people message me sending me his logo because it's a circle with bars going through it, and it says House of Weightlifting. I think it even says EST, whatever. And then inside it says WH. It's literally like the Weightlifting House logo, just a little bit more jazzy.
So while you're drawing that with your finger, I'm going to put the logo up on the screen.
Yeah, maybe I can trace
it. Yeah.
I actually messaged him about it, and I was like, "Hey man, just seen your logo, pretty similar to mine," and he was like, "Oh yeah, I know," but he said that he was. Do you know House of Biceps? Do you know that guy?
No. Oh yeah, Clint Darden. Yeah,
Clint Darden. So he was like, because he's friends with Clint Darden, so he was thinking, all right, House of Biceps, House of Weightlifting. So he was actually going off him, not me, but it happened to be similar. But no, I mean it's such a different thing. We actually played a April Fool's prank. Did you see that?
Yeah, it was the barbells, the House of Weightlifting.
He was like, I'm going to pretend to do bars, and I was like, I was meant to join along, and I forgot. I woke up and I saw it posted. I was like, oh shit. Oh well. All right, let's finish this question off. So let me just get it back up.
So
that's what she said.
So we talked about
when to utilize and when not to. All right, should we do that in terms of what technical deficiencies would lend themselves to doing more powers?
Yeah.
Or how far out from competition?
Yeah.
There's got to be good things.
Yeah.
So I think, and I kind of believe this in many ways, and this is something that Glenn said to me, and having done it, I think it's really good, is I think maxing out your power snatch, if you're really good at powers and you don't starfish or anything like that, you don't shoot your hips way back. If you catch it how you catch a normal snatch, doing heavy powers is one of the best ways to train.
Mm.
Because for someone like me, where you're powering about 90% maybe of your full, it means that you're not training to max, so you're not really fucking yourself up because you can do another 10 or 15 kilos if you went all the way down. But you're putting as much effort as is humanly possible into that one lift. So, when I go in and I think the last power session I did, I think I powered 108, which is like my PR power snatch. And going up to that, like I put way more effort into that 108 power snatch than I would a 108 snatch. So it's like always pushing you. So when you're catching up right on that border of just above, just below, like as upsetting as it might be to be just below, like your body doesn't care. It's still great training. So for me, because I'm really good at powers, like in terms of the movement, I catch them exactly the same. And I basically never missed a power by dropping it. I just ride it all the way down or something. So I think powers are phenomenal training if you do them right. The issue is doing them right. And that's where a lot of people go a bit wrong.
Yeah, I think that's completely accurate. I think a lot of the times you would like to utilize them is exactly what you said, when you want a bit of a lower intensity exercise, because you obviously can't lift as much weight. So it's just inherently going to be easier. And then you can kind of stack that if you want to do sets of 3. That's going to be even easier, but you get to work on the pull, get to work on catching with tension. I like to put them before like a full lift, and I think that helps with, at least for the clean, it helps with timing. It helps with the turnover. So I talked to you off air. I used that complex recently, and it worked really, really well. What it does, and this is kind of just speculation at this point, is I think it forces people to pull closer to their body, right? Because if you kind of let the bar swing out and come into you, it's going to pull you forward, and you're going to miss the power because you can't catch it as low. Hip's going to be a little higher. You're not going to be as in a vertical position. So I think it just forces you to clean up your pull.
Right.
Pair that with a full clean to see if there's a lot of like transfer. Sometimes it can fuck up your timing actually, because you get so used to pulling so high. So I think that's a good time to utilize it. Obviously, a lot of other options, but you wanted to say something?
No, I mean, I like that. It's actually one of the things that I tell CrossFitters predominantly when they're doing powers or they're trying to max out their powers. I say, don't stick with the pull any longer. Don't get into that. Don't make that mistake that because you're powering it, you have to pull for longer. The best way to treat a power is to think, I'm gonna meet the bar before it's had its chance to start coming back down. So as it's lifting up off your thighs and it's going up and it's decelerating, try and meet the bar at that exact point of deceleration where it stopped, and then you can just catch it and continue up. Like you see Ilya do like a 200 kilo power clean, and he catches it and he's barely above parallel, but he just comes straight up. Because you watch other people, they catch a power like right above parallel in the clean, and they're like, and it takes them like 5 seconds to do it. It's because the bar's coming down, so they have to accelerate up against that bar to slow it down, then stop it, and then start moving it back up. So I just said to them, look, it's about moving quicker. So as soon as you make contact, lift those feet off the ground, pull the arms, and get under as soon as possible. And that's probably going to be the best way to catch your powers.
Yeah, and as you were saying that, I was just thinking that it exacerbates a bad pull. So if you have a tendency of looping the bar, it's that same thing you just mentioned where you're going to get pushed down because it's creating this backward movement. I had another like really excellent answer, and I'm trying to think of what it was.
All right. Well, while you're doing that, I want to say that there's actually nothing that makes me more furious when I'm coaching weightlifters. Nothing that will make me more likely to actually be a bad person and say a horrible thing than watching people miss powers. Like miss them forward. It makes me irrationally livid. Like I'm furious when people start doing it, and I'm just like, this is, and I hate to say it, it's normally CrossFitters. I've got one more week of coaching CrossFitters, by the way. It's usually CrossFitters, and I just look and I'm like, this is just bad training. This isn't even like average training. This is making you a worse athlete. You're getting worse by doing this. Like, you're trying to make this 70-kilo power snatch. Like, one of the guys, lovely guy, but he puts his feet about 1.5 meters wide, and then he's basically set a limit. This is what a lot of them do. A lot of the CrossFitters I see do. They set a height limit where they're like, if I don't catch my power here, I'm not going any lower. And it's normally like barely down. And so they end up catching it, and they've barely bent their knees, but they've got bent arms.
Yeah.
They catch it there, and then I'm like, don't do this. Just go a little bit lower, and then your arm is going to lock out. Like, you've got all of this room, but they're incapable of catching a snatch anywhere between the top quarter of the squat and the bottom of the squat. And to develop the perfection of being able to catch anywhere during that depth and catch it and just stop abruptly and just lock and no movement, that shows that your pull is getting darn near perfect. If you could just catch and stop motionless before coming up, there's no horizontal momentum on the bar that's making you wobble or anything. It's just the bar's gone up straight and it's come down and you've locked and then you come straight up. I think being able to catch your powers at any point and pause for 2 seconds without having to take a step, that's a great way to train. Just train. Great way to train your pull, your fixation of the bar, just everything. I love it. I love pausing on powers.
No, that's great. Actually, it's something I've been thinking about doing, is putting in the full lift with a pause in the catch. And I think some people, it's kind of the same thing with the power. I would never program for a beginner a pause in the catch of a clean, because they still need to learn how to utilize the bounce. But for someone that can do it reliably, I don't think it's a bad idea, especially if you tend to get crunched over in the bottom. What I was going to say in reference to the powers is it allows you to take stress off of your knees if you have, achy knees, or you do a lot of squatting. I think it serves a great way to train the pull under, train the catch, and then it doesn't fuck you up as much,
Right.
Weightlifting will beat the knees to shit. So sometimes finding a way to save them, powers off blocks, powers from the hang, whatever it is, just get more practice without doing more damage. And normally that's during like a high volume squat cycle or whatever it may be. And then to your point, real quick, when you talk about like catching it an inch below parallel and how people say like, well, it wasn't a power, so it doesn't matter. That's
it's like it negates the training. It's like it didn't count as a rep because of that.
Exactly. That's like someone. So that'd be like me catching a clean, and I can feel my elbow touch, and saying like, "Wow, that was a shitty rep." I have to take it again because that one was like it wasn't competition legal. It wasn't 3 whites. It's like you still did the exact same thing you would normally do. You pulled it, you went under, you caught it, you stood up.
Right.
You're training the body. You can't get away from that and think that like just because you didn't meet this imposed standard from the outside that it doesn't matter, it doesn't count. Everything you do in training matters to some extent. So if you press out your jerk, it's not the end of the world. It's still a jerk.
Right.
But go ahead.
Yeah. God, what was I going to say? I was thinking about another thing. Okay, well, the other thing that I was going to say was, I don't know if you. So I wrote this article, over a year ago probably, and it was called "A Case for Powers" or something like that. And I was basically trying to rewrite how we judge powers. And I think ultimately it's probably too pernickety to bother doing. But I saw that there were basically 3 types of power snatchers. You've got people who do it right. You've got people who just push their knees forward, and so they close their knee angle. And then they get people who don't bend their knees. They just push their hips back and they close their hip angle. So I was thinking, look, both of these aren't quite right. Like, people who push their hips back, I just hate it. And people who push their knees really far forward, it's like, it's okay, but it's not really a power because you're basically at full depth. You've just got amazing dorsiflexion. Yeah. That's kind of, I go to that. I do that a little bit. And so really the best way to standardize it, I think, is probably knee at 90 degrees. I think testing it by, is your hip below your knees, is a bad idea, because Like, trust me, I can go almost all the way down and keep my hips above my knees because my dorsiflexion is really good. And so I can actually catch a power like low and maybe only do 5 more kilos if I did a proper full lift. So I think actually knees to 90 degrees. The issue with that is just actually measuring it.
Yeah.
It's like, how do we do that? And I think maybe even a better way is if you imagine an athlete stood up straight. Right now their knee angle is 180 and their hip angle is 180. And then they close and their hip angle closes and their knee angle closes. I think basically if you were to do it properly, I think the best way to do it, if it was easier to standardize, would be the hip angle and the knee angle have to add up to 180 degrees or more. And as soon as that goes below 180, so that way, whether you choose to close the hip and a bit of the knee or all of the knee and a bit of the hip, we're basically saying once you've closed off 180 degrees, which means you're basically at that second half of it all, then that's the cutoff line for power. The issue with that is it's just too difficult. I mean, we could produce some software that, like you film it and it works it out quickly, but I think that's actually a more accurate way of testing powers. And I think one of the reasons that some people power 90% and other people power 75% like you is just because like you don't have amazing dorsiflexion. I mean, one, you don't pull the bar high, but one, you don't have good dorsiflexion. So you hit 90 degrees very fast. Whereas I don't. Like I can descend a meter and not hit 90, but you can only descend 50 centimeters and you've hit 90. No. So anyway, just my thoughts.
Yeah, that's interesting. And at the end of the day, like Seb said earlier, if you're an inch above, it probably doesn't matter.
No.
The idea is you just try and do the lift a little bit better than the full lift. You try and emphasize certain aspects of it more than others.
What actually is your power snatch?
100, but it was like a low bar power snatch. It was like my hips were like my knees were, my shins were vertical, my hips were pulled all the way back, and I was like leaning through the bar. It was hideous.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's like you were saying with you want to do powers when you're doing, if you're in a high volume squat cycle or something and you already move well, then powers are a good way to do it. And you even said powers off blocks. And when my knee started hurting again in the summer, I could squat to a high box basically, and I could only do powers. I couldn't even pull off the floor because there was too much knee flexion. So I did high block power triples for like 2 months. I ended up getting 100 kilo power snatch triple off blocks.
Yeah.
Like it's amazing how much I was able to initiate an acceleration from the knee just from doing it over and over and over again. Especially when you have the intent of catching it high, you give it a little bit more, because snatching 100 kilos off blocks, you might not really give it everything. But power snatching 100 off blocks, you have to. And yeah, I mean, I improved a huge amount over those couple of months, even with my squat probably plummeting to some extent. Is interesting.
Yeah. All right. I guess we should move on to the next part of the question, which is long-term use of powers exclusively.
I don't think it's beneficial to just do powers exclusively. But I think if it's a case of knee pain that's so severe that you can only do powers, then do as many powers as you can handle. Like you can't only do powers. You have to practice the full skill of the movement. And so we break it down into, we go off blocks and we highlight the turnover or going under or moving quick or whatever it might be. Or we do powers or we do drop snatches and we highlight certain parts and try and accelerate the growth or the improvement in that significant part. But you can't get rid of all of it. Like you can't just power if you want to be the best and you have no injury. But if you're injured, do powers, man. Like I power. I can't do full lifts right now, so I just power.
But that's like,
I did a no hook, no contact, no foot power clean the other day to max, just to see what would happen. It's crazy.
Yeah, I think the problem with that though is if you have, it depends on what the rest of your program looks like, right? If you have a limitation and you're always working around the limitation, when you go back to doing the actual movement, say you can't get into a full squat because of knee pain, so you only power. And the way you power is by keeping your hips back. When you go to transition into a full lift, it's just going to push you out of position. You're not going to get that forward knee travel.
You're going to miss.
So if you're doing that exclusively, it has to be nearly a perfect replication of the lift, just without the actual squat. Because as soon as you start to try and push the weights and accommodate the injury, I don't think it's going to have that carryover that you're going to think of or hope for. So it could be a bad idea, could be a great idea. As long as you're working the necessary range to get back there, I think it's fine. But if you're just like, hey, fuck it, I'm just always going to power for the rest of my life, that's an awful choice.
Yeah. I think I'd agree. You basically just have to make the most of a bad situation. Yeah. And if you've got bad knees, do your powers. If you don't, do some full lifts. You just can't miss it. Like you're gonna lose out if you don't do that. It's like training basketball and all you do is shoot and you forget how to dribble. Like you gotta do everything at once. You can't just. Did you like that one, Josh?
I did.
I saw you smile. You smile and an approving nod on that one. I like that.
Yeah. Okay.
I think that's fair. Yeah.
And that's Anyways, so the timing difference. I'm guessing he means between power variations and the full lift, and then how to find full lift rhythm.
Yeah.
The only confusing thing about this question to me is that finding the full lift rhythm with the power or with the actual lift after you've come back to it.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think that I really think that the pull should be the same. I think normally when you do a full lift, you don't just meet the bar right in the bottom of the lift. You do meet it a little bit higher. You might put a little bit less power through, a little bit less acceleration on the bar, so you don't actually meet it above parallel. You might meet it a little bit lower and then just ride it down the final couple of inches. But you're doing the same pull, you're just not putting as much into it. When you do powers, you normally put everything into it so you can try and catch it as high as possible. So I feel like the pull should be exactly the same as a normal snatch. If you're going to go for a PR snatch, you put everything into the pull. I think it's the same in the powers as well. I don't think there should be a change. The difference is that as soon as you catch it, there's no riding it down. You just catch it and stop. You're just motionless.
I mean, I generally agree with that. I think that's, as we've said the entire time kind of discussing this, it should be the same lift.
Yeah. And it's like if you can pull it higher by doing it a different way, no one cares.
Yeah.
It's like, what? So? I don't care. Like, I can do more in the power if I do a back squat. It's like, it's a different lift.
Yeah.
So why does it even matter? Just do the pull the same. Like, why are we doing the power snatch to improve the snatch? So why change it?
Yeah. No, I would agree.
Do the same thing.
I'd agree. And if you're having a problem, so if you're doing those powers exclusively and you're having a problem bridging the full lift with the power, just do a complex where you do a power plus a full lift, or you do a power into a squat and then a full lift. And hopefully that'll iron anything out. I wouldn't imagine too much would be different. It's like you said, unless you're going out of your way to accommodate the weight instead of accommodating the movement, you should be okay. Now, if you're accommodating the weight and you're just trying to put more on the bar, I mean, if your ego is that fragile that you need to do that, which I've been in that situation before, so I can't speak too much to it, but just say fuck it, focus on moving well,
right,
and then bridge the power with the full lift.
Yeah. I have to send a text message very quickly. I do apologize. I know this is annoying.
People can watch you now. They wouldn't have known this beforehand. So while he's doing that, I'll just read out the next part of the question.
Yeah.
So programming is important, but I see a lot of athletes extremely concerned with the minutia.
Yeah.
And then he
actually wrote minute.
Well, see, they wouldn't
it.
see this, and I'm trying to make him sound like an educated weightlifter.
Yeah.
So concerned with the minutia, and then it says ... retouch on following a philosophy instead of the methods. Do you want to tackle this, or do you want me to give my opinion?
I think it's a good question, and I think that it's right that you should be following a philosophy rather than a method. But depending on how you define those things. I mean, if you define method as one. If you define method as I'm always going to run the Russian squat program, and probably that's not a great idea.
Yeah.
If your philosophy is to gradually overload and then deload, then gradually overload and deload, then that's great, and you could use the Russian squat program to do that to achieve your philosophy. But yeah, I think getting stuck behind a method like I'm just going to do my method is daily back squats. Like I'm going to back squat to max every day. If that's your method, it's like, well, you're probably not looking at it quite right. You need to look at the underlying principles of strength training and see what is it that you're doing. And you're high in specificity, you're high in overload, but you're low in progression or something like that. So you've got to look at what the principles of strength training are, work out what your philosophy is, and go from there. I mean, I think the best philosophy is the Russian philosophy that we spoke about an hour and a half ago off air, which is build your weakness. And that's what you do. And you just look at it like this tower that's got all these weaknesses down here and strengths up here. And if something's up here, don't do as much of it. And if something's here, work on it, bring it up, find the next thing, bring it up, find the next thing. And everything's gradually going to go up like that because you're bringing up the weaknesses. So for me, I think the best philosophy is improve your weaknesses. And then look for a program that does that. And if it doesn't do that, don't do the program. I mean, I don't know. You got to periodize and you've got to bring up your weaknesses.
I think there's a bit of confusion when you use those two words specifically because I feel like method, what he meant by philosophy, I think of as a method, right? When you say Russian philosophy, I think of Russian method.
Same. Yeah, I kind of do. I'm just assuming what he means.
Yeah. Well, so I would say following a philosophy. I think those two words are interchangeable, philosophy and method. I think if you were to say following principles instead of method, that would make more sense, right? Because the principles are the underlying kind of building blocks that construct each individual method.
Yeah.
So if you're always
if you're like I'm just going to run 5x5 squat.
Yeah.
Is that a method?
That's a method, but it's constructed from principles, right? Yeah. Because there's a certain, like you said, there's a certain method. There's a certain aspect of progressive overload inherent within it. There's a certain aspect of variation and specificity. And if we're going by what Mike has kind of constructed as the hierarchy of training, there's a certain amount of fatigue management and all of that stuff. So it's a method. It's kind of like when I talked to Max Ada and I was talking about the Bulgarian system, and he said it's not really a system; it's a method. It's an amalgamation of principles that kind of come to this one conclusion. So I think if you're, I don't know. I guess philosophy is just, I don't know how that kind of fits in. That word to me makes it a little more confusing.
Yeah, I feel like philosophy is more fluid. I think that's what Michael's going for. So I'm the 5x5 everyday back squat guy. It leaves no fluidity to fatigue management or anything. It's like I'm constricted by this method. I think philosophy would be more, I'm going to overload for 4 weeks and then deload for a week. Or I'm going to manage my fatigue a little bit better. And that allows a bit more fluidity in what you do day by day. Is that what Michael's talking about? Less like I'm going to do, I mean, I don't even know, like do the MASH method. I mean, the MASH method's probably great. I don't even know exactly what it is, but I know there's the MASH method. But that's probably one program for lots of people rather than looking at necessarily your weaknesses. But even within that, Travis has a ton of philosophies, I suppose. I don't like calling it that, principles that he's following within that method.
I guess it's just kind of, maybe a philosophy is just the collection of your thoughts at the moment, like you were saying. It's, my philosophy is that we squat often as a weightlifter, or that we do the lifts as much as possible. And that kind of changes based on the situation, but every day you're going to work towards doing a variation of the snatch or a variation of the clean, because in someone's opinion, so in my opinion, we just get more practice in what's important. So I guess a philosophy is just the way you would prioritize the principles. And a method is the exact implementation of that philosophy. It's like, so if we think of philosophy as this, as you said, like this fluid train of thinking. A method is just when you write those thoughts down on a piece of paper, that's what you get. So one's abstract, one's concrete, but I think in total they're both a collection of principles.
Right. Yeah, I think I would agree that. I think, yeah, next time, Michael, just be more specific. You know, we're like, we pick things apart, and if it's not watertight is a question, I don't know what I'm doing with it. I'm basically confused.
So I think that was good. I think that kind of cleared up my thoughts on it. I don't know if Michael feels like he got any insight from it. But so programming is important, but athletes are concerned with the minutia. I mean, as they should be.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Do you know what we should do at some point? I'm just thinking is we should get like Seth on or something and talk to him about his programming for some of his athletes, because he's now programming for Jordan, Bo, himself, and I'm sure a few others. Like, I'd be interested to see what because Jordan's injured a lot, but I see Seth doing some different things.
Yeah,
and I'd like to talk to him about it, and just say like, what is this? Like, why are you doing such variation? Why is everything so light at the moment? Like, what's the reasoning? It'd be kind of interesting to get some other coaches' opinions rather than just ours and the odd kind of elite coach along the side.
Yeah, I think it'd be interesting. I'd be interested in hearing where he got his his like philosophy from, like how he developed that.
Yeah. I know you're going to hate me for doing this, but my laptop's going to run out, so I got to run and get my charger.
Okay, yeah, I can cut this out.
You can cut it out, or you can try your best to fill it.
All right, I'll fill it.
You talk about how training's going. I'll be back in like 30 seconds.
Okay. So he's waving bye to the people. I don't know. A lot of you listening, you may or may not have heard this Weightlifting Talk episode. Shout out to Michael Horner. I know you have. Donnie Shankland and John North are sitting at the table, and John North says that he has to run and go grab something, I'm assuming from his truck, outside of the building. And he's like, Donnie, just talk, just say something. And then Donnie just kind of sits there. A lot of awkward silence. He's like, oh, my teammate, he's a crazy guy. He can snatch a house, and then he just kind of sits there, and there's a lot of dead air. It's a very awkward situation. So I feel like me telling that story when I'm in a similar situation is, he's back. The voice of the people.
The people scientist. How we doing?
Doing pretty well. I just told a great Donnie Shankle story, so I think the people will like that.
No, well, I remember when I met Donnie, and he was really weird. He's a very different guy, so I think what most people think he's going to be. And I went round to Glenn's, and I don't know where Glenn was. He was like doing the chickens or something. And so it was just me and Donnie and Fergus, who's been on the podcast once, my old housemate, and we were there. And Donnie had this AR-15, and he was telling us about how when he was in the army, they used to take it apart and then they'd time each other to put it back together. And he had the national record or something, like something crazy. He said he just practiced it all the time. And he was doing it over and over again, and he was like, film me. So he'd give us his phone, and like we're filming him, and he's doing it. And if he got like jammed, he'd be like, and he'd get up. One point he was trying to he was so fed up, and he's like, oh, okay, I'm going to do this. You know how like you get yourself ready to do another one and you do something weird? Yeah. He walked over to the corner of the room, bent down, grabbed the side of the sofa, the couch, and started humping it. Like just pretending it was like a woman or something, started humping the side of the sofa. And he goes, all right, we're doing this. And he goes over and he's like, film me. And we film him. And as we're filming him, like, I'm filming. And you know how like when a message comes, you see it at the top?
Yeah.
Dude, this dude's getting nudes for days.
Really?
Yeah, man.
What?
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yes.
Weightlifting House exclusive.
But this is, guys listening, this is Patreon ears only. Yeah, we're talking Weightlifting House after dark right now. But yeah, man, and it was crazy. Also, your audio is suddenly coming in a bit weird.
Yeah, is it? Am I good?
That's better now. Oh
okay.
Yeah, that was good. Yeah.
So I guess my turn for a Donnie Shankle story. So I took a trip up to New York, and I went to the gym he was coaching at. And I was trash. I was garbage. So I could tell I was just kind of annoying him how bad I was. Yeah, I lifted anyways. But I was sitting there on a bench, and he was snatching. I was watching him. He worked up to 140. So this was after he was injured.
So that was a good lift for him back then.
Yeah, so he like fucked his shoulder up, and he was coming back. So he had 140 on, and then he snatched it, and that's when he fucked his shoulder up again. Like that lift.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, so he I think he put his jacket on. I don't think he had a t-shirt under it, and I think that's when he was like done. That's when he called it. It was like that day when he messed his shoulder up again. Yeah, so.
Did he say anything? Did he yell?
No, he's a quiet guy.
Yeah.
Well, he's a quiet guy until he starts drinking. So when we were there, we were having the Christmas party, and I'm pretty sure he was just drinking a lot. And then he started yelling at me. So I was sleeping in the. We were sleeping.
I remember this.
Yeah,
you told me this. What happened?
Like we were sleeping in our car. Like we drove up. It was 7 hours. We got there late at night. We slept in the car. Got up in the morning. Went straight into the gym. Like, hey, we want to train. So we lifted. We left. We came back. It was the Christmas party. We just spent a lot of time in the city. And we were there, and he's like, what did you eat for breakfast? Like, what have you eaten today? I'm like, well, we didn't have breakfast. We were fucking sleeping in the car, Donnie. And he's like, you didn't eat breakfast. So he starts screaming that across the gym, just yelling at people. Like, this guy didn't eat breakfast. And he just started harassing me. So he got a guy to bring a scale in. And then he had one of his lifters get on the scale. And then he started harassing him about how much he weighed. He's just yelling at everybody. He told some cool Ivan Abajev stories. It was a fun time.
Yeah, the stories I like, but stuff like that, it's like, what are you doing, man?
Yeah,
right. I don't get it. Yeah, well, you've been harassed by Donnie Schenkel.
Yeah,
what do you know?
Yeah,
man. I remember exactly the same thing at this gym in Wales, where he turned up and we had like a huge meal and drinks and stuff, and he just like picked on the skinny guy, and he was like, "Why aren't you eating?" And the guy's like, "Oh, I'm trying," and he was like, "You've got to eat," and like just like went kind of crazy about it. It's like, Jesus, Donnie, like when like not everyone is trying to be as good as you were.
Yeah, I mean that philosophy is kind of weird to me too. For different reasons, but yeah, it's just a different guy. But that's probably why he was great, man.
Yeah, he wouldn't take no for an answer. He wouldn't settle for anything less than perfection. To an extent that was almost damaging, or was damaging ultimately. But Glenn will say, like, Donnie is the most strong-willed person he's ever met.
Yeah.
Actually, no, he's number 2. Apparently number 1 is James Moser.
Yeah, that makes sense.
James Moser is the most strong-minded, determined, fearless person that Glenn said he's ever met. And then Donnie's kicking in at number 2, which probably makes... I mean, which is why they would be separated before training sometimes. Like James Moser's like 16, 17 years old, and Donnie's like 27, 28, but they weren't allowed in the same room before training because they'd fight. They'd get into fights.
Really?
And then you'd bring them into the gym at the same time, and they'd train, and then you separate them again because they're going to fight. Yeah, there are some fights at Cal Strength that I know about.
Why?
People getting knocked out. Stuff, man. I can't even say.
Yeah.
Definitely not on air.
Yeah,
definitely not.
That's really interesting.
I've heard some stories from Glenn about some of the fights. Yeah, people getting hit. Yeah, man.
Damn.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Damn.
All right, we should finish up the question because I had a few things that I did want to talk about. Oh, we didn't finish it up. That's a lie.
It's not a lie if it's misinformed.
Programming is important, but I see a lot of athletes extremely concerned with the minutia. So I guess that's like. I was just gonna just touch on that.
Yeah. Go for it.
Anyways, I just besides that, I did have a few things written down. We talked about working weaknesses. Something with the powers I never really said. If you're a beginner, and I explained this to Seb off air, if you're a beginner and people always say you shouldn't do powers when you're starting out. If the powers help fix a technical fault that is limiting the amount of weight you can lift, do powers. If that's going to correct it. It doesn't matter if you're not catching in the bottom. It doesn't matter if you should be If it's fixing the turnover and that's where you miss a clean, fix it. Do powers. So you can't get caught up in this mindset of like Glenn, Seb, Josh. They all say if I haven't been training for a year, I can't do powers. You can do whatever you want. If it helps, do it. The idea is just to keep that long-term development in mind. Is this going to keep me from getting better eventually?
Yeah.
And if you can answer that question honestly, and it's, it won't keep you from getting worse, then go ahead and do it.
And I think, you've got to look at it as well as in that same vein as when you're starting out, you want to save things for when you really need them. So like, can I continue to get better at snatching at a reasonable weight by doing full snatches? If the answer is yes, and do full snatches. And if the answer is, okay, I'm at a point where actually my progress has slowed down to the extent that powers will now accelerate it again, then you move over to powers, but you don't do everything at once. You don't do 3 position snatches, no hook, no feet, powers, blocks, hangs, deficits in the first year of training, because it's like so many things work when you're a beginner. So many things make you better. I mean, I PR'd every week when I started out. For that first year, within my first year, I snatched 100 kilos, and I was like, how is this even possible? Like, I couldn't even squat 100 kilos when I first started. Now I just snatched it a year later. Like, it was crazy. Everything worked. And then as you get better, fewer and fewer things work. And as Glenn said, which is kind of scary as a coach, especially when you start coaching better athletes, not only do fewer and fewer things work, more things actively disrupt training. More things don't work. More things make you worse. So like being a top level coach is scary. Like there's a lot of shit that like you're so good now. There's a lot of stuff that will not only not help you, it will make you worse. So half of training as a coach is, can we make sure we don't do any of those things? And then as an added plus, can we then find some things that will help? Like that's crazy that you've got to think on that level at the top.
Yeah, I imagine it's very stressful.
Do you even have a coffee with you, Josh? I've never seen you pick up a mug during this whole episode. Oh yeah, that's true. I have seen that.
Oh, you have?
Oh, you got one of the you got one of those Yetis. I've heard a lot of things about that. I'm going to make a mug and get them sent to you.
All right, and I'm still waiting for the book, so I'll be waiting for that.
Hold on. I think I have a feeling I messaged Dan the other day and said, "Did we get a book out to Josh?" I'm going to check that right now.
Okay, and while you're doing that, one thing you said was you don't want to overuse variation. But if you've done the lifts and you've committed time to just snatching and just clean and jerking, and the problem hasn't resolved itself, don't continue thinking that eventually it will. If cues don't work, if full snatches don't work, full cleans don't work, attack it head on. I mean, just throw the kitchen sink at it. Eventually, once it goes away, then you can kind of get back to normal training. And I'm sure that brief stint of variation will actually be more beneficial than not. One thing, again, that's kind of been spoken to by other people, not only John Kiley, but Derek Evely. He's done a lot of translating for a really well-known track coach. But anyways, the point he gets at is variation is incredibly effective and incredibly impactful. So if you're ever in a rut where you're not getting better, like vary things up. Like change shit, actively change everything or anything, because that's like the most potent stimulus for growth is change. But you also can't be afraid to stick with something for extended periods of time. Like I know Glenn, when he programs, it's like the same thing over and over and over and over. And
that's something that you only develop when you've solidified yourself as a good coach and you're not scared of ruining your reputation. Like, I see him program stuff, and I'm like, how do you have the balls? Dude, like, even within a week, like, Monday and Thursday is the same day, and you're like, oh, my God. Like, he just does the same days. Like, it's a good day. Yeah. Like, I guess so. Yeah, I guess it is. Like, why wouldn't you do it twice? But, like, you feel the need to change things a little bit. Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's I don't want to say it's a sign of a good coach, because then I single myself out as not being in that camp. But
good coaches tend to have a system or a method or a philosophy, and they really stick to that.
Yeah.
And that might evolve over time, but they have something that they always go to because they know that it works, at least for them in most situations. So if you get programming from Glenn, it's going to look the same for nearly every person for a lot of the time, for months on end, and it doesn't change much.
No.
But it's been proven, and I guess that's why he's had as much success as he had. And that's like the tough part as a newer coach, is you're trying to develop that system, a way of doing things that makes sense and reliably makes sense and reliably gets people better.
Yeah, and I think in the same way that, you know, Abadjeyev's program eliminated people through injury, Glenn's in many ways will eliminate people through boredom.
Yeah. Oh.
It's not. It's no. I don't mean it's a boring program.
That's a great point. Like that's.
Oh right, yeah.
That's really good.
I don't think that it's actually boring. I just think a lot of people will do the same thing. They'll get results for a few months, then the results will go away, and they'll panic, and then they'll change. But the few people who manage to just do it for 10 years get very good.
Yeah.
If you can force yourself to stick to it. But it's hard to do. It's really hard to do.
Yeah.
So.
And there's obviously something that can be said to that. It's like if you're not seeing results, there are a few reasons, but some people, like, I mean, we talk about averages when we talk about like research, but there are always people that need more. There's always people that need less. People that need barely anything to get better. People that need a lot of work to get better. And like that's nothing against you if you fall into either one of those camps and you're not seeing progress.
Right.
I think sometimes people feel guilty if they don't see progress and they want to jump ship. But I mean, you can't, like, this almost gets a little philosophical, but you can't determine how you respond to training. Like you can't pick that. Like you can't choose how much volume you need. So if you're not getting better, like that's your physiology. That's not your ego or your personality or whatever you may think it is.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Cool.
How long have we been recording? Because I'm meant to be talking to someone in about 7 minutes are going to turn up.
We've been recording for 1 hour and 16 minutes.
Okay, cool. I don't know how we've done that.
I don't
That's
either.
Crazy.
That's a long time.
Yeah. So how can we make this all better? I'm just looking around. We need to get, we should try and get like a proper backdrop for both of us.
Yeah.
Do you have room? Would you have room to do that?
Yeah, I can.
Can we green screen?
Yeah, we could.
Do you have the capability to do that?
Yeah, what I can do is I can move into the. You see that mirror right there?
Yeah.
I can move into that closet and just put a sheet on the wall behind me.
Because if we can do that, like we could then, because presumably it's just going to be like this section of me and that section of you. If we've got something like this behind, then we can have the Weightlifting House logo just imprinted behind us, or I don't know, something cool.
Yeah.
Some like cool logo behind us.
Yeah.
That could look good. That could look profesh. And then we've got the mic. We've got the coffee. We've got my plant pot with this plant here. You know.
Yeah, we can give that a shot. I'll have to see how this one turns out. It's going to take a while to edit this. So.
Is it?
Yeah, it's going to take a long time.
How on earth could this take a long time?
Because you're like, okay, I want the House of Weightlifting logo here. I want the Catalyst Athletics video here playing. It's just going to take time.
All you need to do is, like, as we're doing it, when I say something, just write it down. See, I've got my book here. This is just notes. Every day, mate. Every day, just writing notes on work.
Yeah.
You got to have it. This is a business plan that I made.
Yeah.
That's top secret stuff.
I'm just going to freeze that moment where you show everybody. I'm going to zoom in. I'm going to copy your ideas.
No, here's what you're going to do, Josh, is you're going to blur it.
Yeah, exactly.
You've got to blur it. No, this won't take long to edit.
How do you know that?
Because I know the software that you've got. Like, you're going to click... You use it because I've used it before.
What software?
Okay, no, the recording software, I mean.
Okay, yeah, it's easy to extract the video, but not to make it
so then you
great.
Extract it, and it downloads as the video and the audio all together. So you've already got it.
Yeah.
Then you cut the first minute where we're not recording.
Yeah.
You cut the final minute.
Yeah.
And then, okay, if you've got to add in a video, it's not hard to do. Or you just go, okay, great, upload it onto YouTube, get the tags in, done.
But you don't get
Dude,
it.
it's like 30-minute job.
When I edit this video, I want this to be the best video I've ever edited.
I want it to be. I want it to be. So like, if you say, so I'm going to put 2 hours into this.
Yeah.
Great, do it for the people. I would like that. But all I'm saying is, it could be done quick.
Yeah, it could be if you want to cut corners.
I don't want to cut corners.
Okay.
I just know what you're like. You're the corner cutting type of guy.
I'm just gonna all right, let's wrap this up.
All right, Joshua Gibson. Where do people go?
Well, you can.
Where
find
do our
me...
31 patrons go?
Well, considering that I know most of them and they follow me on Instagram, at Josh_PHILWL. That's Josh_Phil WL. Shout out to Katie. KT, she is a new Patreon subscriber.
Yeah, I saw that.
So,
and she snatched 64 kilos the other day for a PR.
She missed 65 5 times, and she pulled it to her fucking eyebrows. Are you impressed that I know that? I am impressed. Yeah, I
saw it on Instagram, and I remember the number. Yeah, it's good. I told her. I sent her a message. I said, "Nice snatch."
Oh, nice.
I said, I liked as I was like, thanks for supporting on Patreon. Really appreciate it. Also, that 64 kilo snatch is very nice.
Yeah, appreciate it.
So I do it. Yeah, it's got to be done.
I told her, and this is an aside, but I told her that she's going to do pretty quickly over 70, and then she's going to clean and jerk 200 pounds. It's inevitable.
91 keys. Yeah, probably. Yeah, that'll happen soon. And you can follow, just to add to the work that you have to do, you can follow Josh on his YouTube channel on his Instagram here, and his Facebook here. And if you don't have all of these going right now, you failed. Follow me on Instagram here and here, and add me on Facebook here. No, I'm just joking.
And
if you could do the Instagram ones, that would look pretty cool.
I'll try. I've never.
Or maybe
done that
we get
before,
a banner across the bottom with all the news from the weightlifting world.
You know what I will do? I've been doing it for my training vlogs. I'll just put a picture at the end of the video, and it'll have every link on the page.
And also, I'll tell you what else we need is, and I know that we're just describing how to edit this whilst on the podcast, which is ridiculous, but you've got the intro and outro music, right?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. So we're going to need about 20 seconds of us talking before we say hello and welcome to, so that the music's on and we're just there getting ourselves ready, and then it just kicks into it, just like it would on the podcast.
Yeah. We didn't record, so we didn't have 20 seconds of us talking before. I hit record, and then I did a countdown, and I did this. All
right, well, this time it won't work.
This time it will not work.
But next time we'll just be talking, and then it'll happen.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, let's end it there. And then we need to do that little 2-minute segment afterwards.
Okay, yeah, let's do it.
For the programming. Cool. All right. Well, guys, thanks so much for tuning in. I hope you appreciated this rambling episode of The Morning Brew with myself, the voice of the people, and Joshua Gibson, the people scientist. Tell your friends, spread the words, tell your coach, tell your gym partners, and we'll be back next week with another for this. I just ruined it right at the end. It was going so well with another episode of The Morning Brew.